My name is Asad Yaqub and I'm going to tell you about IELTS speaking. Let me tell you, there are so many videos which are readily available on YouTube, but this video is going to be different. I'm going to give you some tips which you cannot find elsewhere because I've taken IELTS test twice with 8 bands and I am an IELTS trainer as well in Lahore, Pakistan. So get ready to learn something new about IELTS speaking, and I'm going to give you the secret tips to get a good band score in IELTS speaking. I have the other videos on reading and listening as well. You can watch them too, but let's take a start with IELTS speaking. Now let me tell you, IELTS speaking test has 3 parts: part 1, part 2 and part 3. Part 1 is basic and part 3 is advanced. There they're going to test your band score from 7, 8, 9, right? Now what you're going to do in IELTS speaking part 1, when the examiner is going to ask you the question, you have to attach why at the end of every question of the examiner. For example, what's your favorite color? And you have to attach mentally and why. What do you do in your free time? And why. Now examiner will not ask you why. You have to have why within yourself so that you could elaborate the answer. Let me tell you one thing, in part 1 of IELTS speaking, your answer should be of around 20 seconds. Whenever they ask you a question where you have to answer, your answer should be of 20 or 25 seconds. Now this question cannot be up to 20-25 seconds if they ask you what is your name. And you say, okay, I watched a video on YouTube and the trainer said you got to answer in 20 seconds. You say, different people have different names. Some people have good names, some people have very good names, and some people have unique names. Names influence a lot on our personality. My name is Asad. Okay, not like this. I mean, if they're asking you a question about your name or about your ID, let me tell you, that very question is not the part of the test. They're not going to test your English by asking you your name. So that is not the part of the test. Anyways, if they ask you a question in IELTS speaking part 1, what's your favorite leisure activity? Now leisure activity means free time activity. So you have to add a why on your own. For example, my favorite leisure activity is watching television. Now, if there is a why in your mind, you can explain why watching television is your favorite leisure activity. You can answer this question by saying, my favorite leisure activity is watching television because whenever I have free time and I am home, television is the best way to entertain myself. And I usually watch different programs on television. Sometimes I watch the news, sometimes I watch some music channels, and this is how I spend my free time at home. Now remember, your answer should be according to the question. I'm going to give you another secret tip which is going to help you a lot with your IELTS speaking. Whenever the examiner asks you a question, the first sentence of your answer should be directly taken from the question. If the question is, what's your favorite movie? The answer should be, my favorite movie is. The first sentence of your talk should be this, and after that you can add the details about that movie, whatever you want to add. If they ask you, how often do you go for shopping? How often do you go for shopping? Now your answer should be taken directly from the question wording. Well, I go for shopping twice a week. And then you can elaborate that. If they ask you, what's your favorite restaurant and why? And you say, my favorite restaurant is, and then you can go on. So do you understand? You have to repeat the question of the examiner. I mean, that question is going to be in an interrogative sentence. You got to convert it into a positive or affirmative sentence, and you got to repeat that very thing with the answer, and then you can further give the details. This tip is going to help you get some time to think about the answer. If they say, what type of people do you like in your society? Now you say, in my society, there are different type of people I like, and then you can go on with that. So this one sentence will give you some time to come up with some ideas or to come up with some answer, and then you can attach that very answer. So this is, take the first line of your answer from the question the examiner is going to ask you. Alright, now let's go forward. Whenever you're going to answer any question in IELTS speaking part 1, definitely you have to elaborate the answer, but this elaboration should be according to the question. Do not elaborate away from the question. If they ask you, what type of areas do you like? And your answer is, well, I like different areas, and I think I like mountain areas very much, because whenever we go to the mountain areas, we feel we are close to the nature. Nature is very important thing, because God has created this nature for us, and we have to enjoy the nature. Now, you know, when I say God has created the nature for us and we have to enjoy the nature, this is going to go away from the scope of the question. So do not explain anything which you think is going to be out of the scope of the question, because that is going to be negative. One thing. There is another secret tip for IELTS speaking part 1. What you need to do, whenever you are answering a question, you have to link your answer with the question. If the question is about your favorite color, whatever you're going to explain, after 3-4 sentences, you say, that is why blue is my favorite color. I buy blue jeans and I often wear blue jeans because blue is the color I like the most. So my favorite color, the color I like the most, the color that attracts me, these type of phrases will actually help you revert your answer towards a question, and the examiner will have a feeling that this answer is exactly according to the question. So remember, the secret tip which I gave you, you have to give the reference of the question in your answer 2 to 3 times, or you have to revert your answer, or you have to conclude one part of your answer towards the question. That is why this is my favorite color. This is the reason I like this color. That, like you know, this is how the examiner knows that this candidate understood my question and this candidate is answering the question appropriately. In part 1, they're going to ask you the questions about you, about your family, about your hometown, about education, about studies, shopping, or any other thing like that. So it's a very good idea to go through all the topics, to go through all the questions. You can find IELTS speaking questions part 1 from Google easily. Go through all the questions, and after reading each question, ask yourself a question. If I am asked this question, how will I answer? This thing will help you a lot, because you know, sometimes basically the answers should be readily available here when the examiner is going to ask you. Now, for example, if somebody asks me a question, what's your favorite color? And I say my favorite color is blue. Now, if I go to IELTS exam and IELTS examiner asks me a question, what's your favorite color? I don't have to think, because I answered this question before. I will say immediately my favorite color is blue, and then I'll tell all the story which I told before why blue is my favorite color, right? So this is how. Try to answer as many questions as possible. You can do this all alone. Just, you know, select all the questions, find all the questions of IELTS speaking part 1, read one question and answer, read another question and answer. You can practice this, and if you find someone who can ask you the questions directly, then you can answer him back, so that all the answers are readily available. When you go to IELTS test, when you go to real IELTS test, examiner is going to ask you a question and say, oh, I answered this question before, yes, and you'll be quite excited about that. Then examiner asks you another question and you say, oh yes, I answered this question before as well. So the answers are readily available. This is how you will not have to think about the answer, you will not have to pretend the answer will be readily available. Although there is no marking criteria for body language and eye contact, but still it is important to look into the eyes of the examiner very gently and very respectfully as you are answering the questions. As I'm looking at you while I'm talking, so you got to look into the eyes of examiner as you are answering all the questions, because you know, when you maintain eye contact, you develop a channel, and you need to develop that channel between you and the examiner, so that all the answer you're giving to the examiner understands that, and with eye contact your answer will be impactful as well. There will be some impact in your answer, and that impact is going to help you get a very good bench score in IELTS speaking. So don't take IELTS speaking part 1 easy. Read all the questions even and try to answer. And one more thing, you should answer every question they ask you. Let me tell you one thing, don't take IELTS speaking test realistically. It's another secret tip I'm going to give you. Sometimes, you know, some candidates, they take IELTS speaking test realistically, and the examiner asks a question, tell me about your pets. And they reply, pets? I don't have pets. No, I don't have pets. My family doesn't allow to have pets. Change the question. If you're going to ask the examiner to change the question, your bench score is going to be low, because in IELTS you don't have any option. You don't have any choice at all. So learn to pretend the answers. I repeat, learn to pretend the answers. If I have no pet, still I have to pretend what I'm going to say when anybody is going to ask me about pets. Now, for example, if I don't like music and the examiner asks me, what's your favorite type of music? Now, I should not say, I don't like music. Music is so bad. Change the question. No, I have to answer. This is what we call pretending. In order to get a very good bench score in IELTS, you have to pretend every answer. And as you pretend, you have to be very, very confident. Let me tell you, IELTS examiner does not know anything about your life. IELTS examiner does not know anything, who you are, where you are from, what you do. Your answers should be correct according to the questions. That's it. Right? Whatever they ask you, your answers should be correct according to the questions, and logically your answers should be correct. If you are telling lies or if you are pretending, the examiner has nothing to do with that. That's why don't be afraid to pretend. Rather, try to pretend in IELTS, and try to pretend with full confidence and full interest that your answer looks real to the examiner. And this pretending is the key to success in IELTS speaking. I hope my tips will help you, and if you don't understand all the tips, you can watch this video again. And one more thing, if you like this video, then definitely please click on like, and like my channel also, because on this channel I'm going to share different videos on IELTS. And if you have any question, if there is anything you do not understand, you can write your question in comment as well, and I will try to make a video possibly on that very question, and I will try to add that video on my channel as well. And if you really think that you learned something from this video, write that in the comment as well. That will really motivate me, and that will encourage me to make more videos like that. I wish you all the best. That's all about IELTS speaking part 1.